Guys, I'm gonna show you guys round one of the Bryant Chess Championship, Bryant University Chess Championship. I played yesterday, so I came in second. 2 wins, 2 draws. I'm gonna show you round one of the event. So I had the black pieces here. My opponent plays d4, f5, and then bishop f4. London system. Um, Knight f6, e3, g6, h4. This is very aggressive, and I've found myself in many dire situations in such variations like this in Blitz. Like I've lost positions like that, and I also during the over the board game I did consider this d6 idea because thematically in some variations this is activating the light square bishop to defend the king side. So an idea could be something like this. And I did calculate this, but I was thinking, why just go for this? I can just play simple h6, and then meet just, I can meet this with this. So yeah, exactly. My opponent goes queen of 3, and now I activate my light square bishop, and then queen g3. And I was just thinking to myself, like, this is kind of a waste of time for my opponent. Like, this isn't developing, so I don't. I'm not gonna like arrogantly play king f7. Um, who am I to think like that? That I'm maybe better than my opponent or anything? Like, no, I'm just gonna defend my weakness here. Like, no arrogance. Just be humble here and continue playing logical chess. And yeah, another point of my d6 move here earlier is that this kind of cements the bishop. It's hitting granite. So that's also why I like d6, and I don't care about developing quick. So I don't even know if my king belongs on that king side. So Richie, I played queen of 3, he goes back, and then I play e6. There's a game by Wilhelm Steinitz where he played something like this. It was against Cecile Valentine de Ver, and yeah, and it's a very good defensive pawn move, defending against any d5 advances, and it just cements this pawn as well. So it's a good prophylactic idea. And sometimes you can even play queen e7 and just develop normally, like something like this. But anyway, knight c3, knight c6 was played, and then my opponent plays d5. So uh, he kind of missed this double attack, which is also the point of when I played d5 earlier as well. And I did calculate bishop e5 check. Um, this is what I calculated, and I thought that this was still like decent. Maybe I just play rook c8 next, defending the c7 pawn, and or maybe not. I don't know. This is a little unclear, but yeah, this is kind of unclear. I'm not really sure what I would do here, but I also king e7 also works, but bishop d7. Yeah, this is. I'm just checking with this. This is my engine checking to make sure I'm not insane. So this is good for black, what I calculated. And then rook b8 is the move. So this, because of this attack, um, huh. Well, anyway, at least my intuition is kind of correct. But anyway, back to the game. So queen d1 was played, and then I just took on d5. Now black is a pawn up, and he plays bishop g3. I develop, and then yes, c3 is also weakening. Like, I'm just trying to make my opponent on the defensive so I can develop my pieces, pretty much. Queen d4. And I didn't want to play queen takes d4 because that would just kind of make my knight less stable in the center. And this would give my opponent a good control of the first four ranks here. So, like, for example, like, yeah, there's a good space, and maybe my opponent can get some counterplay somehow. Dark squares, like, you can try some counterplay, but I mean, you're still worse, but I try to go for the best ideas. So he took, and then now I have threats with this exchange. So I took on my terms, because now I'm threatening b2. Um, and yeah, c3, I'm just going to take, trying to fork the rooks with this bishop. So he castles, and I just develop bishop c4, knight b6, castles, knight f3. And I defend my pawns on my pawn on e6. Because if I don't, like, maybe I say, like, if I do, like, king b8, this comes with tempo hitting here, and I don't have this tactical idea of c5, c4, because I have to protect this pawn. So I just protect the pawn in advance. So now, if he plays knight d4, then I have this idea of c5. Knight goes somewhere in c4, trapping the bishop. He didn't do that. Um, he just plays bishop f4, and I just go bishop g7, bishop h2, and now I decide to exchange bishops. Because I was calculating some variations, and I wanted to play e5, blocking this knight. e5 is blocking the knight and this bishop. They're hitting granite pretty much. So I wanted to play e5 without allowing bishop to f7. So I just decided to exchange bishops here. Rook h1. I took. He should have just exchanged, but I mean, he'd still lose time, but his structure would be a little better. Because now I've got e5 blocking both pieces, c3, and now I might play g4. This is not a good move because now his bishop is bad, and it gives me a new idea to just change the structure. So I play e4 here because the bishop is locked in, and I want to lock it in even more with, like, maybe pawn h5 and just block all these light square breaks. Um, so he plays knight d4, and I played h5. My opponent tries f4, and objectively, this is probably correct. I was also thinking about this and thinking this is good for black, but I also wanted to kind of just prove that, alright, I just, intuitively speaking, this bishop would take, like, a bunch of moves, at least maybe 4 moves to do stuff. Um, I mean, but that is, I mean, it's not as active with this pawn structure. So I decided to just enter a good knight versus bad bishop endgame while being a pawn up. That's a bonus. And play d5, locking in more pawns on dark squares. And yeah, I saw a5 in advance. I have to stop b4 ideas just to kind of, well, enter the a file. And I don't want to give white time to play b4 and b3, getting rid of my c4 square for my knight. Not that that really matters, but um, I'm trying to play very optimistically and aggressively here. So king d7, and then we just both kind of double. I'm preventing b4 with this setup, and I might consider playing a4 here, weakening the light squares further on white's queen side. So just getting another pawn off a dark square. I'm preparing and taking my time, not rushing. That's an important thing. If you have the advantage, don't rush. You can afford it sometimes. And so king d1, and now since this king is undefending this pawn, and Um, the bishop is undefended. I just played a4. And so if he was going to take, I was not going to recapture an a4. I was going to go knight c4 because of, yeah, this is just winning the exchange. But that didn't happen. He just plays king e2. And then now white has just a clear pawn and targets. And he plays this, which is probably another mistake. Um, I'm not really sure what he could do because I still have this threat of like bishop c1. There's a5, a4, a3, and b2. So, and the king can't go into c2 to protect against that. So he goes king here, knight c4. I take the pawn, and yeah, he resigned. So thanks for watching, and keep improving your chess.